the service or the availability of that center to the youth throughout the city so that they don't have to bear extra costs in order to use that. It doesn't take that much to run a center, but it certainly goes a long ways to giving activities for our youth so that they can have something to look forward to have fun. Now, short of that, of course, it would be nice to build multiple centers. We can have other regional pockets throughout North and South Fremont because those are the areas that are traditionally being ignored. But of course, there are funds that are necessary to do that. But should funds become available, and that will become available by having more businesses come to Fremont, attracting more businesses to bring in more tax dollars to provide the services that we can provide. So that's the short of answer that I can give. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Do I support a development of a youth center? Absolutely. Do I think the city and the taxpayers should pay for it? Absolutely not. And the reason being, we don't have the money. The money's just not there. And so we do want it. Right now we have to make do with what we have. We have a teen center at Lake Elizabeth. It's a great thing, and we need to do more with the existing center that we already have. We have after-school sports provided by the school district. Whether you're in elementary school, junior high, or high school, there's always something to do after school. We have the great Adventure Time program that in every single elementary school in the city. Make use of that. Right now, we can't, the city doesn't have the funds, doesn't have the resources to go out and build a youth center. Should it be available down the road? Then yes, by all means we should, because the youth just don't have anything to do in this city, and we need to make sure that we are providing for our youth. But right now, our main focus should be to bring more business to this city and to do more to hire more teachers and to make sure that we improve our educational environment in our schools. So those are the things that I would focus on as mayor. I think this would be something that I would put for a later down the road because we already have the existing facilities that we should be making use of. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It says, if you become mayor, would you support a youth center? Absolutely, yes. And like you said, right now we don't have the money, but there are two ways that I have planned to get the money, and like I said, there are two crooks we've had in the past years. If I could get rid of them and people put into it, the kids want it bad enough, they could help me do it. So the old saying, there's a will, there's a way, and I would say I would be able to get it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have a list of unmet needs in the city that includes needing to add more police officers, increasing staffing in the city, opening a fire station that's been built but not open, $50 million of deferred assets on our roads, opening the libraries on Sunday. The list goes on and on. Do we have tremendous needs? Yes. Do we have tremendous opportunities? I think yes. I think a teen youth center is an opportunity, a tremendous opportunity for the city and the school district to come up with some sort of partnership where we can do it together. The school district obviously is in financial hardship as well, but it's an opportunity to help the kids after. Maybe it becomes a place where homework can be done, or maybe it becomes a place that keeps kids off the street so they don't get in trouble. I think we in the schools have a vested interest in our children and our children's future, and it's a tremendous opportunity for us both to step up and work together. On the other end of the spectrum, we have a senior center that we had slated to open that didn't get open. So we have needs on both ends of the spectrum, and I think we need to look and find whether it's grant or public-private partnerships on both ends of the spectrum to make sure we're taking care of our residents, to provide a great place for them to go, whether it's to learn, to have fun. And I think if you look at the senior center model, I think it works very well. It's very well used, and I'd hope we can find some place like that for the teens in our area. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I visited a place called Oakland Uprising, which was a youth center that was brought together by leveraging funds from the county, from the cities, from nonprofits, and grants. And when you take a look at the sense of pride that the youth have in putting that together and calling it their home, their own space, it's inspiring. Is something like that needed in Fremont? Absolutely, yes. And as my colleague said, we do have a huge list of things that we do want to do. But the question was, where would something like this be appropriate? One of the ways that we could approach this is in partnership with our schools. Maybe it's a satellite center at the 5 high schools. Maybe we should probably take a look at that as a short-term solution. The teen center and expanding that to be another way of getting the teens in there would be one way to look at it. We have a facility on Dusterberry, which the city has been exploring with the community members and a group of youth to take a look at whether that's the appropriate place to put that youth center and bring in the kinds of partnerships that we want there. So there are lots of resources out there, but we need to leverage what we've got, build that sense of can-do attitude, and go after the dollars and bring in the private partnerships to make that happen as well. One of the things that we've done really well in Fremont is the Family Resource Center, which leverages, again, funding from all different sources and houses 27 different organizations here. And that's the kind of partnership we need to be looking at to get the kind of facilities we need.
Thank you very much. We'll start with you. Yes, okay. Does the city have sufficient resources to support further residential development? Resources such as police, fire, school system?
So I had the opportunity to sit down with the superintendent of the Fremont Unified School District on a couple of occasions, and that's exactly what we were talking about. Do we have the resources in place to provide for extra students should we decide to build more houses? And he said no. And you know, when I came in second grade, the average school size in our school district, or the average class size, was 20. When I graduated in 2011, it was 33. So our class sizes are increasing so rapidly, and the superintendent is saying, look, we don't have extra schools so that these new students who come into our school district can have a great place to learn. Also, I spoke with several people in the police department, and they too said that, you know, right now we just don't have enough police officers to take care of more expansion, more development. So right now it seems like we don't have the resources in place to provide for more development. Now, if we do put in place my plan to bring more retail, dining, and entertainment options, and to bring more tech and biotech companies to the city, we will increase our revenue exponentially, and it'll be here to stay. And that is how we can make sure that Fremont is back on the path of sustainable prosperity, and we can take care of more development. Thank you.
Ms. Sousa?
Let me see. Does the city have further resorts to have place like police department, fire department, city workers and teachers?
Do you want me to read the question? Full
Yes.
question? Okay. Does the city have sufficient resources to support further residential development? And the resources mentioned are police, fire, and school as examples.
Further. I'd say the answer is no. Right now we don't have the money, but I'm sure when I get elected mayor I will find a way of getting it, because I've studied over the years so many of the biggest crooks in office and politics and state-wise. But, like you said, when movie stars make big money, they know what to do, and it comes in, and it does come in handy. So I still say it's up to the taxpayers and voters, school kids who help me do it, and the ones who need it. Possibly down the road we'll find a way to do it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Sure. Does the city have sufficient resources to support further residential development? And they specifically mention resources such as police, fire, and school.
Thank you very much. Like I mentioned previously, we have a list of unmet needs as far as the first two addressing police and fire. Our police are overworked, not necessarily overworked, but they're stretched as thin as they can be. And there's times that we obviously need more officers on the road. We need to expand our economic base to increase the revenue so we can add more police officers. As mayor, my top priority is to increase our economic base with that. We have a fire station, like I mentioned, Station 11, that is built. It's beautiful. It's not manned, and it is protecting our major assets in the city of Fremont. It's protecting our sales tax generators at Pacific Commons and Auto Mall. It's protecting the Marriott Hotel if we have any out-of-town visitors there. It's right across the freeway from Tesla. Very high-profile items. We need to open up that station. So that there's room in Fremont in underutilized areas to increase people, to bring people to Fremont so we can sell it more as a place for businesses to locate, for jobs to locate. We need to be strategic where we do that. We need to look at that. There are some commercial sites that the term that economic development uses is pruning. If they're underutilized and not utilized well, it's better to take some of the underperforming centers away so we can put them in higher performing areas so we can increase the area, freeing up that land to make other decisions on. We need to work with the schools. I know that it's been challenging in the past, and we've had better discussions with the school board the last few years. We're at least talking about where over-enrollment is and making sure we understand those decisions. And as mayor, I'll continue to have an open conversation with the school district. Thank you.
Thank you.
As an architect and urban planner, I am proud of the work that we've done over the last 4 years as a community to take a look at what our vision needs to be for the next 20 years and how we want to grow. Fremont will grow as infill developments. We do not have the land to stretch out and go beyond. We're already almost developed. And the kinds of development and the housing that we will bring in is infill and mixed-use projects that are linked to transportation. So what we are doing is to take a look at our projections, where we want to go, how we want to grow, what we want to be as a community, and then take a look at the resources we need to get the kinds of infrastructure. We also take a look at the resources that we already have, whether it's water, police, public safety, the schools, and work in partnership with all of these organizations, including the schools, to take a look at that projection, to take a look at that 20-year plan and see what we need to bring in the additional resources. So we're not reacting to projects as they come before us, but we have a plan that a community is aware of, that the different organizations are partners with, and the development community also understands very clearly where this development needs to go, what kind of development we're looking for, and the kinds of impact fees that we will ask for the developers to pay to make these infrastructure projects happen. I'm also very proud of having been invited to be part of a local leaders council for Smart Growth America, a group that talks about how we build smart and make sure that as we transition from suburban to strategically urban communities, where these developments go and what kind of a community we become in the future.
Thank you.
Can you repeat the question once more, please?
Sure. Does the city have sufficient resources to support further residential development, such as police and fire and schools?
Well, the simple answer is no. But I think if you look at the history of what's been going on in Fremont, including what's going on as current council, housing is being allowed to be developed without consideration of these services that everyone keeps saying that we cannot afford, or that we cannot provide sufficient services. We need to take a close look to see what, in order to allow development, it has to be balanced. We can't just say no to one and ignore the other. Balanced growth meaning bringing in businesses and for economic development, because that's going to be the source of revenues that everyone is looking for to bring in the tax dollars in order to support the services for school, for police and fire. As for schools, because we are supposedly an autonomous form of entity, we need to look at other ways in order to address the school issue. We cannot allow development to continue to occur knowing that the surrounding schools cannot absorb the enrollment of students that are going to come. I know that there are rules by which the city can operate, so we need to come up with different ways of not allowing development to occur and be within the guidelines of the law.
Thank you very much. For the next question, Ms. Susoff, you'll be the first to respond. Under your leadership, What will the city do to reduce greenhouse gases, and how will the results be measured?
Well, I know for me, I try to use as little bit of PG&E as I could, because I've seen power outages and more houses and more this, that, to keep our city cool and not, like you say, explode with all this heat and stuff. People should consider that and use flashlights. I don't know about, some people have put windows up in their ceiling to use the light from the sun, and then you don't use much electricity that way. So, like I said, I'm sure if I studied more about it, I'd agree with the people when they say this, that about the greenhouse and PG&E. It says about something with your water heater, this, that, because the prices would go up. Would you be willing to have more coolage in your house, or this, that, or insulation and all that? So I'm saying it could be done. So more green I would be in favor of.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. The late Mayor Bob Wasserman was obviously a good friend of mine and one of my mentors, and he surprised city staff a couple of times when he signed on to some letters of support at the U.S. Conference of Mayors, setting Fremont forward to start addressing some of these issues. They found out, he signed it, he did it, he pledged Fremont support as we moved forward, and he started the process going down. We have a climate action plan that we've worked with stakeholders to find reasonable solutions, and I would continue that efforts there. Mayor Morrison is now constituting a green task force to continue that work, and as mayor, I will take advice from people that know more about that than I do technically, and hear from the technical experts as to how Fremont can shape the future of the greenhouse gas within our community. The biggest thing is obviously auto pollution. Fremont has some control over that. We have some control about where we're doing our development. We need to be smart, as we have been in the past, about trying to increase our transit-oriented development around transit nodes, whether it be the existing BART station. Once the South Warm Springs Fremont BART station is built, the traffic there will be alleviated in the original, or the old school, if you will, BART station. We can do some development there to increase there, so people can live, work, shop, and play within Fremont and be able to walk to transit. I think that's the best way we can do it. I think that's the quickest bang for our buck, and as mayor, I'll make sure that those are our plans. Thank you.
Thank you.
On council, over the last 4 years, we've been taking a look at greenhouse gas emissions and some of the things that we can do as a city. We've made sure that we've done an energy audit for ourselves to make sure that we are a leader in making sure that we set the path. We have an aggressive goal of reducing vehicle miles traveled. What does that mean for a suburban community like Fremont, which relies on cars for the most part? Yes, we've put in our monies to get the BART stations going, and we hopefully will have 3 BART stations, but that's not enough. We need to be aggressive about getting a network of transit options which gets people off their cars and gives them the option of not having to drive to the BART station in order to take BART to wherever they need to go. So we need to be working with AC Transit, and one of the regional Measure B1 that's on the ballot in November is a source of that kind of funding for us to get the transit network that we need. We've also been working on a climate action plan, which in my mind didn't do what we wanted it to do. It did not have measurable goals. It was not specific enough, and it had these vague generalizations. So we've sent that back to staff, saying we need to have some really specific goals which we can measure and be able to tell how we are doing. I also am very supportive of a sustainability commission, because that's a thread that weaves our future, and we want to make sure that we are doing all the right things to get us to be one of the greenest, healthiest cities in the world.
Thank you.
Well, I think if we look at the one prime example that all of us can be proud of, that's the development